Are the Huskers on the verge of a collapse? I personally do not think so, but there are several indications that may say that it is a possibility. Will the departure of key members of the coaching staff and roster detour this Matt Rule led team, or will Rule rebound from these departures? Or has he already rebounded? Hi, and welcome to the Big Ten Quick Talk YouTube channel. If you like the content, as always, like the video and subscribe, as it is the best and most efficient way to support the channel. We are trying to hit 500 subscribers by Christmas. It's not that hard of a goal. Let's get there together, be one of the first 500. And I have an excellent preview, only 7 minutes long, for the Big Ten Championship game. If you're watching or listening to this video before the Big Ten Championship game, I would advise you to watch that. All right, that's enough small talk. Let's get right into the topic of today's video, which is the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Okay, so we're going to section, and then we'll have an outlook to that. First off, who's leaving? Let's start off with the coaching staff. The big one, obviously, is defensive coordinator Tony White leaving to go be the defensive coordinator for the Florida State Seminoles. A lot of people pegged him as a head coaching hire for a lot of different schools, even a smaller school like San Jose State, like he was rumored to last year. But he was rumored to, bigger schools, and he was a head coach hire type deal. So a lot of Nebraska fans were upset or taken aback by the fact that he took another DC job at a Florida State school that really doesn't look that good right now, albeit they're making some really, really good changes that I really like bringing in Tony White. Defensive line coach Terrence Knighton, one of the best positional coaches on this Nebraska roster, has left for Florida State officially. I know there was some confusion with that. He is now officially gone, and that was a really big loss in my opinion. Maybe even a more big loss than Tony White. Um, that's debatable, obviously, but both those coaches are at Florida State now, and they're working for Florida State. Wide receiver coach Garrett McGuire will be taking a lower analyst role, and as we'll get to when we get to the who's in, they have hired a new wide receiver coach. Same with offensive coordinator. Marcus Satterfield was a terrible offensive coordinator. Now he is exclusively tight ends coach, where he was honestly meant to be. He's a tight ends coach by trade. He's been offensive coordinator at multiple places, but his tenure here was really bad, to say the least. And I'm glad that Nebraska made the necessary change to Dana Holgerson. But I mean, there is a lot of turnover with this coaching staff, and with that, let's get to the players. All right, now let's get to the ugly part, which is players. The players have definitely there's been an exodus, let's just say. Um, there are some players that are a lot of these players are replaceable, especially on the defensive side. Though you're taking a big hit to your depth with this one. You're going to be playing players that you didn't really plan on playing next year full time. Players like Maverick Noonan, possibly. Players that have talent, don't get me wrong, but players nonetheless that, redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores that you didn't particularly plan on playing next year full time, because these players are out. Players like Princewell Umamielen. I mean, he was a defensive end. He didn't get a lot of playing time, so his stats aren't very good. But he was a good talent. Things just really weren't working out there toward the end of the season. He was upset over snap counts, stuff like that. We won't get too into the nitty gritty here, but Princewell Umamielen has transferred out, and he'll probably get a decent star grade because of how athletic he is. Stephon Thompson transfers out, the linebacker. He helped. He was a silent helper, in my opinion. He didn't make a lot of flashy plays, but he was in on a lot of tackles, some forced fumbles. And he was kind of an unsung hero. I'm not gonna lie. For this Nebraska defense this past season, or I should say, still, because they're in a bowl game. Look at that. First bowl game in 14 million years. All right, I'll get off of that tangent. Jamari Butler was a huge loss. However, he was only going to be there for one more year, so how much of a loss is it instead of losing like a guy like Vincent Shavers, who will be there for a lot of years, 3-4 years down the road, he'll still be with this team. I say it. I mean, it'll definitely hurt in the moment. It hurts in the moment, but keep in mind that this guy is a senior. He will leave after the season wherever he goes. It's a 1 year deal. Mekhi Gaber was a guy that I really liked at linebacker, playing the jack position, roving around a little bit. I really liked him ever since he started playing 2 years ago in 2023. He was a guy that I really liked, but alas, he is transferring out. But he's an older player as well. Gabe Irvin, the fourth string running back, a guy that, was never going to see the field. He has good talent, don't get me wrong, but he was never really going to see the field in a good enough position. And the guys behind him were younger than him. So, yes, it is logical that he would transfer out. Players like this will be transferring out. As we look at Vincent Carroll Jackson, another guy where it's like he's on the defensive line. He's a little bit lower on the depth chart. He's good enough to play games at D1 collegiate level, but will he at Nebraska? The answer was no. So obviously he transferred out. James Williams, kind of a pass rush specialist guy. I see a lot of fans complaining about him leaving. He definitely helped. He had good pressure rate and whatnot, but he was really not on the field a whole lot. He was very fresh when he got out there because he doesn't really play the run well at all. He can pretty much only rush the passer. He can't drop back. He's he needs to get bigger. He's very small for a defensive end. Made him fast, whatnot. I'll get off of the James Williams train. He's a good player. He'll succeed somewhere else, probably going to Florida State. He had a very good connection with Terrence Knighton. But I don't see it as quite the loss that people are making it out to be. Danny Kalen transfers out. He's a guy that possibly might transfer back in, but he's not going to get playing time. Being the same year as Raiola, again, a guy that has talent, but he's going to be stuck behind people. Malachi Coleman was stuck behind. Now, this is a case of where Garrett McGuire struggled developing this guy. He has talent out the wazoo, big guy, big frame, can catch a deep ball, can run really fast. And we saw that in 2023 with Nebraska, but you know he wasn't getting a whole lot of playing time, and I can understand him wanting to be on a team that wants to play him. It just didn't seem like they wanted to play anyone but the seniors and Ja'Cory Barney this year for Nebraska. Another reason why they lost games, in my opinion, was because they didn't play Coleman and Lloyd as much as they should have. I'll leave that be. Kai Wallen, the latest transfer defensive lineman, backup defensive lineman, don't worry about that one. I mean, the only worry about him leaving is the depth at defensive line for the bowl game. All right, that's it for the players. It is not all doom and gloom, though. So before we get to that really quick, I want to remind you guys, if you haven't already liked the video, subscribe to the channel. It is the best and most efficient way to support the channel. Like I said, we're trying to hit 500 before the winter hits. The winter really hits, around Christmas time. It's a pretty good, reasonable goal. So help us get there and subscribe, and also leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts on some of these players leaving and some of these upgrades that, in some respects, that they're getting here? All right, let's move on. All right, let's get into this recruiting class for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They are all officially in. All 20 of them signed early, which is a good sign for Matt Rule and his team. 8 4-stars, and I would say about overall 11 that are rated 4 stars by at least one or more national recruiting sites. This is by On3 Sports. I like On3 Sports for recruiting. Nothing against 247. I just like On3 a little bit better. So 8 4-stars according to On3. 12 of them 3 stars. I'd say about 3 of them are 4 stars on other sites, and vice versa on the other sites as well. It's just all how you rank them. Point being, a lot of talent coming in for this Nebraska class, including a flip from Texas in Cortez Mills, a flip from Oregon in Isaiah Mosey. Both of those wide receivers are really, really good, and honestly could probably get playing time very quickly at Nebraska unless they bring in a boatload of wide receiver transfers, and I don't see why they should, because they have a lot of talent in-house right now. It's the 20th overall class, so it's another top 20 class for Rule. 6th in the Big Ten. They improve on that by 1 from last year when they were 7th, and their class score is a 89.29, which is about the same as last year. It's a really good class, and they didn't bring in a whole lot. and they didn't. Yes, they did shoot for some big guns, but they didn't want this to be a huge class. Like last year's class, the 2023 going into 2024 class was, well, I'd say it was the 2024 class. Pardon me. This is the 2025 class that we're talking about right now. But the 2024 class is was supposed to be a really big one, and it was. It had a 5-star, several very high 4 stars. It probably could have been a 5-star too. Excuse me. But this was a pretty down to earth class. A lot of linemen, a lot of wide receivers, a couple running backs. Jamarian Parker's really good. Connor Booth's really good. Um, and it ended up being a very nice class. And some of these guys can contribute right away. Don't give two shakes about it. These guys can contribute and possibly will. Guys like Isaiah Mosey, guys like Cortez Mills, they can contribute. All right, let's move on. Okay, two incoming not head coaches, two incoming coaches that I really want to stress and talk about here with you guys. First one being Dana Holgerson. He's already in, but he really takes a first big step in by being named official offensive coordinator, being paid for 2 years, $1.2 million. They paid him the big bucks because they know that he's good, and he unlocked the offense toward the end of the year. They scored 44 points versus Wisconsin. They scored 20 versus USC, and they definitely could have had more. And this was a big step up from what they had with Marcus Satterfield. It really was. He has unlocked the offense because he brings a simplicity to the offense. Excuse me. It has been said that the playbook was way too big for a lot of players, and Dana Holgerson was brought in to simplify the playbook at first when he was brought in to be an analyst, and then he became OC toward the end of the year. But he brings this simplicity to the offense that everyone will be on the same page. Everyone will execute. Let me put it this way. It's better to run a few plays perfectly than a lot of plays okay. And I think a lot of people will agree with me on that. Dana Holgerson brings a simplicity to the offense, and he doesn't mess around. He's been around for a long time. He has. He's been at West Virginia. He's been at Houston. He's been all over the place, off and on spots in different other places. He has experience, and he does not mess around. I give him a full offseason. That offense will look really, really good, as long as they have some good players, get some transfers in, and some of these guys develop nicely, which I think will happen. So Dana Holgerson, really good hire. Let's talk about the new wide receivers coach. And this is a guy that I really do want to talk about here, Da'Kel Shorts Jr. I want to compare him to Garrett McGuire. Not saying Garrett McGuire is bad, but he didn't have experience beforehand. He's still in his 20s. Da'Kel Shorts Jr. Brings an experience to this team. He was the wide receivers coach at Houston and developed a guy in Tank Dell. Since the start of the 2021 season, Houston ranked 5th nationally in receiving touchdowns, 12th in receptions, and 16th in receiving yards when he was with the team. Then he took a bigger job at Kentucky, where he developed a bunch of other different guys. One who his first name escapes me, but his last name is Key. He's in the transfer portal. He's a guy that Nebraska really is going to focus on, I think, in my opinion, and should expect to get him. He was very tight with Shorts Jr., and he brings a credible resume, like we just talked about there. I think he was a really, really good hire for Matt Rhule and his staff. Okay, let's look at the outlook for this video. My first point, the offseason just started, guys. Let's hold on to our hats here. It's going to be a long offseason. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, maybe a decommit, maybe a flip. I mean, a lot of things happen. You're going to go through a lot of transfer portal drama. As Dana Holgerson said, they're going to bring in transfers. They're going to bring in about 15 transfers. That's what they're looking at. 7 on offense, 7 on defense. They're going to need to because of what they lost. They're going to be trimming some of the loose fat off. So you're going to see some more transfers out. and just give Matt Rule time to find his people and settle in. I know that we've been saying that, but give him time in the short term, meaning give him time to find a defensive coordinator, give him time to find another defensive line coach, and I think by the end of the offseason, people are going to not feel how they feel right now, because a lot of people feel like, oh crap, we lost one of the best DCs in the country and we lost one of the best D line coaches in the country. Just give Matt Rule time to find his people, and I think Nebraska football will keep going as expected, chugging along on the Matt Rule train. That's all I have for today. If you like this video, like the video and comment down below. Like we said, subscribe as well. If you haven't seen the Big Ten championship game preview, go ahead and watch that. That should be on your screen right now, and I will see you guys in the next one.